Welcome to The Passion Pod with your host, Chris Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the feature presentation.
Welcome back, friends. Today we're sitting in Brooklyn, New York, over at my sister's fancy new loft she bought this past year. This is something that's much smaller than my home and also a lot more expensive than my home because of the location. But it is dope, and I'm very grateful that she's letting me be here. Today I have my youngest guest, I think, probably ever that I can think of. I honestly didn't even really know how old he was. I was just like, I know you are much younger than me. And then he showed up today and I was like, whoa, you are really a whole lot younger than me. I'm gonna let him kind of tell the story though a little bit. This is the first time that I'm interviewing somebody that kind of just hit me up after seeing me doing something out in LA, but he saw me from New York. So how did you even find out about this, and who are you?
Sure. My name's Milo Rubin. I'm a fashion designer / creator from the New York area. I'm 17 years old. I found Chris from another brand owner who you interviewed a while back, like a year and a half ago, and I was like, I'd love to come on and talk about my brand too, because I've been running a brand since I was 14, 3 years going on 4, and I was like, I'd love to come talk. Like, I feel like I'm young, I'm new, and
Yeah, give a new perspective. Dude, it, like I said, it was really cool. I mean, I immediately, when you hit me up, because I get a lot of DM requests, because it's, the show's not meant to be a promotional tool, but it certainly is, works that way as well. But, that's not the point. But brands hit me up and creators hit me up because they like want to promote their thing, right? So you hit me up and you're like, hey, I would love to do an interview sometime. And I'm like, oh, okay, where are you? And I'm looking into it and I'm like, well, I do plan on getting to New York at some point. And I'm scrolling through your stuff and I'm like, dude, this is like not like little kid stuff that you're making. Like, this is dope. Like, this has a very like mature vision to it. And it's not just your like 2-color screen print kind of situation. So what is the brand that you started building? Why did you build it? And what was the whole like idea behind it? What is the idea behind it?
Okay, so I run a brand called Takin Over. The whole idea around it was, well, like the first idea I had towards it was like, it was kind of going to be like an extraterrestrial alien vibe, and it was like taken over that way, like aliens are taking over. So like I wanted to stick to that vibe. And then it could also be used as like, I want to inspire kids to like take over. Yeah. To like, just to like find something that you want to do and like go for it. Yeah. What was that?
What made you want to start the brand? What got you into designing? Were you like watching TV where people are cutting and sewing and you're like, I could do that? Or did you see a brand that when you were younger, you're like, dude, Supreme's the sickest shit, I got to make my own? What made you want to do it?
Okay, so I've always wanted to like create some way. And like as a super young age, probably like 12, 11, obviously like I'm watching a lot of YouTube. And so I try to be like, do YouTube videos. Like, I just want to be creative and like put myself out there.
You were making YouTube videos when you were like 11, 12. What were they of?
Just like me and my friends did. It was like, the only video I specifically remember is like 500 marshmallows on a trampoline, something like stuff like that,
Yeah, sure.
Because this was like 2016, 2017. Yeah. And then through YouTube, I found like 2018, I found like Blaze and Dairy, like the whole fashion side of YouTube. This is when like Supreme was popping off. Yeah. So like I got into all the hypebeast stuff, like buying and kind of reselling, like just putting myself into the fashion world, like seeing what's hyped. Yeah. And like, just like starting to build my own fashion sense, really. Like, cool. I would buy stuff to wear it, really. I wasn't like, I wanted to like hold my money because like I was young. I didn't want to just blow it. Yeah.
So you buy stuff and be careful how you wore it?
Yeah. Sure. And then...
Was it streetwear that was really interesting to you in particular?
Yeah. Just like the Supreme box logos, like when all that stuff was like hyped.
Yeah, okay. And then you were going on YouTube and stuff, seeing all that stuff. And then what made you want to create? What was the first thing, I guess, that you made? Because for me, when I was in school, I took print graphics 1 and 2. This was way back in high school for me, which I graduated 15 years ago now. Like, I'm young, but I'm like, in comparison, I'm an old man in this situation. But anyways, so back then, I saw that like I could make whatever t-shirt I wanted. Right. So I remember, this was forever ago now, but Supra had just became a brand. This was way before it got bought by K-Swiss or before Lil Wayne or any of that stuff. This was when it first came out, and it was skaters specifically, right? It was like a skate shoe streetwear brand that you didn't really see much around, at least where I lived at that time. Again, this was like pre-Jay-Z and hype, all that stuff. It was just like skaters, but streetwear, which there wasn't that much of it at the time. So I remember the first thing, or one of the first things I made, was I made a Supra logoed shirt. It was just like white with a gold, like the crown, printed on the chest. And I thought it was so dope because you couldn't buy Supra any clothing anywhere at the time, not even online. It was like nowhere. So I made my own bootleg ones. And to me, that was dope, even though it was like one color. What were the first things that you made?
So, I was scrolling on TikTok and I found this guy who's like, how to make shirts for cheap, or like how to like do it at your house.
Yeah.
And it was like a Cricut vinyl cutter and a heat press. And I DM'd the guy and I'm like, yo, like, what's more information on the stuff that you put in this video? And then he gave me all the things. I went out and bought it, and I made like this UFO abducting a person, like one color vinyl. That was like my first design. This was before I even had a name. First I wanted to call it Youngblood because like I was young.
Yeah, sure.
But then that was taken, so it took me a month or two to come up with Takin Over. Like, it just came in my head. So I know kind of what a Cricut is, but for people who don't know anything about this stuff, what is it that is? Like you said, it's a heat press, but what does the device look like? How does it work really? How much money did it cost to get into that? Because you can get into it really reasonably cheap. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
sure.
it really is like not that big of a barrier for people, but I think a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. Like a Cricut, it's a vinyl cutter. So you get sheets of vinyl, and then you like load it onto this sticky pad and load it into the machine.
Are they like 8x10s, kind of like pieces of paper size?
It's like a mat of 12 by 12, but it can go to 12 to 24.
Oh,
and
okay.
you just get like a roll of vinyl and you like cut it to however big you want it.
Gotcha.
And then, so it's this machine, and you just connect it to your computer, have like a transparent background, and then it'll just cut it out. And then you like, with an X-Acto knife, you go and peel it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you peel out the design that it cuts.
Yeah. And then do you have to buy a separate heat press? Do you just use like an iron, or like how does that work?
I use an iron for like a little bit, but it's like not the best. It's ideal. Uneven. So
sure.
I got like a 12 by 12 heat press, and that works pretty good.
How did you make the design? Did you do it on like Photoshop, or how did you do that?
I drew it on a piece of paper, and it was either on Fiverr or on Instagram. Like, I just found a guy to put it like in Illustrator, like make it online.
Yeah. So for what people don't for people who don't know Illustrator, Photoshop's the one I feel like everyone knows. But Illustrator, the difference is Photoshop, it uses pixels when you create something. That's why when you blow it up, it gets all blurry. Illustrator, it uses points. And so they're even curves. So essentially, if you want to print something larger and you put it in Illustrator, everything stays crisp. But it's a different program. And in my opinion, it's a lot harder to use than something like Photoshop. So there's a lot of people like me as well that I honestly still don't really know how to use Illustrator. And I've done a lot of stuff. So I still go find other people, graphic designers and whatnot, to help me out with that. Like for my board graphics, I recently did that. I just designed another skateboard that should be arriving at my store next week, maybe. But that I had to send it to somebody, a college kid, where I was like, hey, can I pay you $20 to like put this in Illustrator for me quick? So you found someone to put in Illustrator, and then once you have the file, you can just cut them and make as many as you want.
Yeah.
How much does it cost realistically to print a shirt at that point, if you think of like the cost of the shirt plus the cost of the materials?
Okay. So the machine was around 200, 250 maybe. The heat press was like 120. The vinyl, you get like 12 feet for like $20, and then it like you can get blanks for anywhere from like $3 to $15.
Yeah,
so,
for blank shirts and stuff. Yeah. Were you able to get wholesale prices on those, or were you just ordering like eBay type thing? Where'd you get your shirts from initially?
This website called online shop or clothing.shoponline.com, something like that.
And that's what popped up. Cool.
I wanted, because like I didn't have enough to like hit a minimum, so there was like no minimums. You could order 1 to 500 shirts.
Cool. Okay, so then how did it go from there? You made this first shirt that had a UFO on it and you didn't have a name. How long did it take before you came up with a name, and how long did it take to kind of develop an idea of what you actually wanted to do with the brand? Because at first you're kind of just playing around.
Like the name just like came to my head. I was at summer camp and it just like popped into my head, really. Like,
cool.
There was no like inspiration for it. Like it just like came and I wrote it down and I saved it till when I got home.
Cool.
And then I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
How long was it after you made that first shirt that name came to you? Was this like a little while?
Probably like a month or two.
Oh, pretty quick then.
Yeah. Cool. Like I made my first shirt in June of 2019. And then in like July or August when I was at camp, I thought of the name.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So how did you start taking the brand off? Did you just make an Instagram? Did you start selling through whatever? A lot of people when they're that age are selling them at like their high school and whatever. But like, how did you start to build the brand?
Yeah, like my first website was a Google form. So it was to like, local people. And then I made a website and started promoting on Instagram. And this
was Instagram ads, or how were you promoting?
Like this was when like there wasn't like so many brands on Instagram, so like you can like go on hashtags. Like this method doesn't work anymore. Sure. But you can go on hashtags and like just comment like, yo, DM me, blah blah blah, DM me, like how people used to do it.
Sure. So you were individually DMing people from the brand?
Yeah.
And were you DMing them?
I wish I can pull it up. It's like I would just be like, yo, like I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like here's a discount code.
Oh, sure.
Like I'd love if you throw me a follow.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I mean what people don't realize is like, that method doesn't work anymore. But in general, people ask me like, how do you build an Instagram following? A lot of it, like you have to interact with people. That's what people don't understand. They don't realize that this doesn't just come immediately. Like you could buy followers that are fake, I guess. But in general, like if you want to build things up, people aren't going to care about you if you don't care about them. Yeah. So you have to give somebody the time of day to begin with. And like, I'm sure you listened to Jack's episode, obviously. Like Jack talked about that too. Yeah. About how the first 5,000 followers or however many that he had for Pythia, he messaged every single one of them to ask them their thoughts. And that's what builds a relationship with these people, with the brand. So you were messaging people. And did it take a little while to kind of like pop off and get some sales and stuff for it, or how did that all grow?
I'd say like people, like I would do on a daily basis. So like I would probably get like 20 to 30 new followers a day, and I'd just like talk to them. I would just like drop shirts like pretty much like randomly. Like I didn't really know like what a rollout was for a drop. Like I would kind of just be like, I put new shirts on the website.
Whenever you had time, you'd make a dozen of them, or did you like make the design and then if you sold it, you made it and sent it?
Yeah, it was like made to order pretty much, since I would just like order the blanks for whatever size and color they wanted. So like when I got a new order and I just order a blank.
Oh, okay. And then you would do it all from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you did you like make one sample order, have someone, and then take pictures with it and do the whole thing to like put out, hey, this new product came out kind of a thing? Or how did you drop them? Yeah,
like I would just make one sample.
Sure.
And then, put it up for like pre-order.
Cool.
And like have the website open for like a week.
I feel like that, so you would only have that up for a week and then you would take it down. And then if you didn't sell anything, you didn't. And if you did, that was the number and that was it.
Yeah, because like from ordering from those wholesalers, like I didn't need a minimum.
Right,
so,
sure.
Even if I sold like 3 shirts, I would still be able to fulfill those orders.
Sure, but that's a lot of work into the design side and everything else for only selling 3 shirts.
Yeah.
Did you took them down though? Like if you had a design, you put it out, and after that week, you just never sold it again? Is that how that worked? Or did you just keep it up after that? Or like what would happen with those designs, I guess?
I would take them down pretty much. Like I didn't want to like reuse designs really.
Yeah, and you didn't want to have dead stock in that kind of way or have anything be stagnant.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
For not like selling, because it takes, I know for me, like I don't do drops in that way, and I probably should. But when I make stuff, it takes a little while. Granted, I'm not like a clothing designer, but I have a brand and stuff and people definitely buy it.
Yeah.
But to like, if you only sell 5 shirts, the amount of time and energy that went into just the design and everything else versus the amount of money that you net from those sales is like nothing.
Yeah. I mean, like my mindset, even like still to this day, as long as I can like have enough to like keep creating and keep doing what I want to do, like I really like don't care. I was young, so like as long as I can get to the next drop, like I'm good. Yeah.
See, but you're young, but that is the important part that and maybe I'm going to sound like an old man here, but like that's one thing that we all, meaning a little bit older, talk about with Gen Z that drives us insane is the entitlement of expecting everything to come right away. And it does not work that way. All these people that are successful, everybody that I know, they didn't say, well, minimum wage is $12 an hour or whatever. I need to at least net this. No. Everybody that builds something for themselves works for free / pays money to be able to put out work for a pretty extended period of time in order to establish themselves. It's the same way with this show. All the time I tell people, like, look, I spent my own money and I'm paying an employee to be at my store for me to fly to New York to sit down with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and with everybody else. And I'm investing into that because of what I'm able to create from that, reaching different people, getting these different stories and building this brand. And there will be other work that pays off down the road, but you have to establish yourself in a way where you're worth money, where the brand is worth money.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen immediately. You got to make a lot of sacrifices like that. So I appreciate that you said that. And that's one of the many reasons that's very obvious that you're going to end up being successful in this world, especially how far you came in such a short period of time. But if you keep that mentality of like, not, being taken advantage of, but when you see the opportunity of this is what I want to grow, I don't have to get paid from it necessarily. The money's kind of the irrelevant point right here. It's building the other things. That's what really gets you to the space that you want to be. So how did the brand develop beyond that, as far as like design and learning for yourself to kind of grow it into being what it eventually became over the years? Tell me more about that kind of process.
I would say it's more, so you're asking like what beyond clothes do I want to do?
Well, no. With the brand itself, with Taking Over, right?
Yeah.
So you started with one color of like a vinyl thing, but eventually what kind of machines did you get? Did you get heavy into screen printing? Okay. How did the brand itself develop from being a one color UFO design to being something that has a pretty decent following on the internet that's been selling for years now, that kind of figuring out what to do with, but it has really developed into a pretty big brand. How did the brand develop along with your skills to get it there?
Okay, so I pretty much just worked until I felt trapped creatively. Like with the vinyl, you can only do 1, maybe 2 color prints, and like to a certain amount of detail. Like you can't get super detailed with vinyl because you have to pick it out one by one, like every little piece. So I did vinyl for about 6 to 8 months, and then I was like, I need more color. So I bought an embroidery machine.
How much was that?
Like $1,000.
Wow.
Which was like
a lot.
Yeah, like 2/3 of like what I saved up. Yeah, I was like, I need to get this.
Yeah.
Because it was just like refreshing to me. Like, oh, I can make new stuff now. So I have an embroidery machine. It only does 5x7, which is not that big, but like you can hit different spots and like do a bunch of embroidery. And it definitely takes a lot of time. Like I'm sitting in a chair, like just waiting, like while it's going, like it takes like 20-30 minutes for one thing.
Right.
So I got the embroidery machine. I still have it, but I used it mainly like I went heavy with the embroidery for the brand for about 6 more months. And then I was like, I need to outsource the work, like, and get bigger prints because I can only do 5x7 with color on the embroidery. So I started looking for screen printers. And then I found a screen printer in Pennsylvania. I used them for 1 or 2 drops, and then I was like, I need more quality control because I'm still using blanks.
Yeah.
So then this was around the start of 2021.
Yeah.
I found a cut and sew manufacturer in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I've been working with him like ever since for like a year and a half. And that just gives me full creative control over like the whole garment, from measurements of the sleeves and the cuffs to like the quality of the fabric, and like I just feel I have the most tools creatively to like create the garment that I want now.
Yeah.
Compared to like all the way back to the vinyl days where it's just like I find a blank and I put one color on it.
Yeah, no, makes sense, because when I have to print stuff for myself for like my store and whatnot, I end up limiting a lot of what I do specifically to like a 1 or 2 color type thing, because minimums and everything else are just horrible. It's so much work to go into it, versus like I have a buddy who lives locally who will do vinyl stuff for me. So it's like, oh, I need 5 of a black shirt with my shop's logo on it. You got me? He's like, yeah, no problem. I'll have them in 2 days. You know what I mean? But when you start going all the way like overseas and stuff like that to work with it, don't your minimums get crazy? They must get high, because shipping alone has to be a lot. And you're obviously not doing direct like order and then you make it.
Yeah, like what I'm doing with the manufacturers, like I get all the product before I drop so I can ship it out right away. Like,
right.
You want the customer to be happy. Like, right. I don't want to do a pre-order where you wait 4 to 6 weeks.
Right, of course. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't have to order that much. Like, I can order like down to like 15.
Oh, okay. So it is a pretty small amount.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, I don't have to have a big order, because I've also been working with the same guy for so long.
Yeah, yeah. So he hooks it up. I interviewed this guitarist, Daniel Donato. He's like, Cosmic Country is his band, but he was like kind of a guitar prodigy. He's still fairly young and he just crushes it, but he's like a new age Grateful Dead kind of guy. And I interviewed him in the green room before his show in Milwaukee, and then I stayed for the show. And dude, some of their songs just go and go and go and go and go. And sometimes I'm like, did the song ever end, or did it just slowly transition into another song without me realizing it? Just because it just keeps flowing like that. And I feel like that would be the best kind of music to listen to. If you can get an album that never sounds like it ends, like it just floats into the next one and the next one and the next one, but you're not just floating into the next project. So I want to hear about what the next thing is. You kind of told me a little bit, you were feeling maybe like Taking Over is starting to run its course. It's getting to where you ever wanted it to be, and now you have bigger dreams to do something else. What else is cooking? What's going to happen? Yeah,
so I'm working on like a new brand, a new project. Pretty much like my thoughts about Taking Over are like the brand and the identity I created for it. I'm kind of like personally growing past it.
Yeah.
Like I created when I was 14 and like created the vision for it. Like it never really was supposed to be a lifetime project, but it's a great stepping stone.
Yeah.
Like I created a lot of connections from it. I like understand the basics of creating garments. Like it's like exactly where I wanted to be when I first started the brand, which is like a dream come true. So
yeah, you're crushing it.
Yeah.
Most people my age would be stoked to have a brand that's doing what yours has done in the last 3 years.
Yeah. So what I want to do with this new brand is focus less on like streetwear, like poppy graphics. Like I still like to wear like graphic tees and like vintage style stuff like that, but I really want to like focus on creating like timeless garments with just like the right fit and fabric, and like creating like more basic everyday wear type stuff for like anyone. Like you don't have to like know the brand and know what it's about to like rock the clothes, really.
Sure. So what's the brand identity behind it? Like what's the vision beyond like they're comfortable and they fit the right way, but like what's the vision of the brand itself? Who's the brand for? Like, you know what I mean? Because when you have a product, typically you want to identify, let's say with the show, you want to identify, who am I making this product for? And I'm making this show for people that either are already doing something they really care about for a living, or people that want to. And by listening to other people's stories, they can kind of learn a lot of different things from all these different industries and whatnot that could incorporate into what they're trying to do and be helpful. But what is the brand identity for? Like who wants this?
I really want to like attract people who understand like fashion. Like people who follow my brand now, like more follow it that it makes cool clothes, but I want people who follow the new brand to like understand what goes into creating a garment, and like what goes into creating a garment, and just like people who appreciate fashion really, like for it as a whole.
Yeah.
And
so then what's going to happen? Why don't you just want to be a designer for a different brand? Why do you want to do it for yourself? Is it just like because of limitations?
Like I definitely want to work with other brands. Like I want to use myself as a tool, as like I want to be known as a designer that owns a brand but is also able to work with other brands. So I want to like show people the process, like start to finish. Like I want to create like cinematic videos of like me sewing clothes and cool. Making projects like that. Like I don't want everything I post on the new brand to just be a promotion for the drop. Like I want to be able to like teach people and however they want to like take it in.
Sure.
To like be a tool pretty much.
Do you think you'll use the brand as a collaboration thing with other people more so, or do you think it's more so going to be you getting hired as like a freelance designer to help them develop their own brand?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really open to anything. It's like what the other brand owner wants to do. Like if they want to do like there's 4 parts of this new brand: products from me straight to the consumer, and then business to business, like my brand to another brand, video, and then live event. For the business to business, like I'm going to start out by like making one of ones 4 different brands under their brand identity, hopefully if they give me permission.
Oh, cool.
To like showcase what I can do for your brand using my creativeness as my own, as a designer myself.
Yeah.
So, and I'll do it all for free. Like it'll be like free marketing for the other brand. So
sure.
Hopefully they're into it.
Yeah, just like a collaboration in that kind of way, where your work will be featured / they'll be more aware of your work just through it. I think it's a beneficial thing for everybody. And one of ones is like, obviously not financially, it doesn't make sense because it takes so much time for one thing, but from a marketing aspect, it's becoming a thing a lot of people want to do, and for like obvious reasons. It's cool to have something there's only one being made. Yeah. Like that's dope. My friend Drew, who owns this company called Flavor World, he does those. I swear to God, he's been doing it like every Friday for years now. How he even still has new ideas every Friday blows my mind. But I got one of them, and I don't even I don't buy that many clothes. But like I saw one, and I happened to be on Instagram at the time where I saw it dropping, and I'm like, if I can, I'll grab it. Got it. It's dope. I have this sweet hoodie that just like has clouds and stuff all over it that he did. Like it's an all over print that he screen printed all over the thing. It must have taken forever. Yeah. You know what I mean? But so yeah, you're going to do a whole lot of that. What's the live portion? Like you want to be at event screen printing, or I guess you're not going to be screen printing? Would you be sewing?
I would do like, it doesn't really have to do anything with fashion. Like I kind of just want to bring people together. Like I'm down to do like a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, or like cool. Just like really anything to like bring people together. Yeah. Like just stuff that people would be interested in. Like, well, my main goal with live events is like, I really want to throw a concert. Like I've been thinking about it for years. Just sure. like blah, 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 presented by like my brand.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think like fashion and music like go hand in hand, and it would be like just the perfect event.
Sure. Would you then have like a pop-up type tent with like apparel and stuff there, or how would it work?
Yeah, I would create clothes for the event and also sell my own.
Are you going to get into like fashion show type stuff at all, or not really?
Yeah, like I've been working with this guy Kelly, who's like a videographer. He also throws concerts. He's like films music videos, so I help create his brand. Sorry, what was the question?
Now I'm losing track of it. I think what I said was at the event itself, are you going to have tents and stuff or like with your merchandise? How exactly is it going to be? Yeah.
So, I've been working with this guy, Kelly, and he has a lot of connections in like the music space, and like he's thrown a lot of concerts. So, and I'm helping him create his brand, like through my manufacturer. I gave him like all my measurements, like.
Oh, cool.
I pretty much helped create the product, and he's like selling it.
Right.
But it was his idea for the clothes. Like, I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
But like, we want to do a runway show for Fashion Week in September. So it's definitely like something that I want to sew for and like make clothes for a runway show. Like, that's a big dream.
Have you never done that before? This will be like what you're hoping is going to be the first time to be able to do it?
Yeah, and it would be crazy for like to do that for New York Fashion Week.
What's the difference between, I mean, there's a huge difference, right? Between like high fashion like that versus like available fashion for other people. Like what is the difference between like even the planning phase and going into what you would create for those types of things?
Yeah, I'd say creating a streetwear brand, you're focused on like, trends, and like it's hard to like create your own sense of style. Like you'll have like your own brand identity and what you want it to represent, but like streetwear is like such like a confined space to like hoodies, graphics, sweatpants. Like I was at New School this last weekend, and I was like, I run a streetwear brand. And they're like, yeah, it's like hard to transition to something higher than streetwear once you already have that. So like, that's why I want to create this new brand and like start higher. And if I want to like do a graphic streetwear like hoodie, like it would still be fine.
Yeah. Okay. So what can you say what the name of the new brand is? That's like super under wraps at the moment.
I can't think of a.
You're still coming up with the name and everything.
Like I'm on page like 400 of the dictionary right now.
Oh God. People don't realize how hard it is to be able to come up with a name for a brand. It really is difficult. Hard. And it's hard to come up with the whole identity of everything. How's it going to be letting go of Taking Over? I mean, you're still going to be doing it for a little while, but how are you going to keep it just kind of on the back burner and drop something every once in a while? Are you just going to like lay that book totally to rest and look upon it fondly years down the road? Like what's going to happen with it?
I'm going to run it till around November of this year. Because that's when my Squarespace subscription expires. So like I'm going to run it down to the wire.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I think I'm just going to close the book on it. Like it's so cool to like look back from where I started to like where I am now. Like I'm so grateful for it. But yeah, I'm kind of just like moving past it.
Yeah. It's cool when people can walk away while something's still working, you know, rather than just like doing it until it's totally done and it's not working anyways, where you feel like you have to give up, but walking away from it when you still could do it. I think that like takes a special kind of person to recognize like, hey, this is working, but I do have higher goals and I'm not going to get complacent.
That's the thing. Like I feel like comfortable in the brand Taking Over. Like for like 2 years now, I've just been like creating drops, then dropping like every 2 months. Like I like know the timeline and like know what I need to do. It's like comfortable for me, even though obviously it's like nerve-wracking to finally put out the drop. But like I got into a rhythm where it was like easy, but I want to like have the feeling to like chase it again, you know?
Yeah, to be able to start something new. So you're going to be doing a lot more cut and sew stuff. I mean, even just seeing on your Instagram, you posted some crazy pants and stuff the other day. Like you're always posting different stuff. It's not just measurements. How do you get mass produced? Are you going to, it has to be mass produced to a certain degree, some of these different like cut and sewn items. Like when you're really changing that style of it, can you still just get 15 of a random pair of pants that you make that have crazy things all over them?
It depends what the manufacturer can do. Like, to be honest, I'm scared that the manufacturer I've been working with for the past year like won't be able to create some of the garments that I want to create. So it's like I'll have to find a whole new lane, and that's going to be a whole different struggle.
Yeah. Are you going to still sell all of it totally on your own, or are you going to try to drop it through some other stores or anything, or what do you think?
I would love to get in stores, but like mainly I'm going to keep going on Instagram and try to like build a whole nother brand. But I'm not gonna drop clothes until like the end of 2024. I'm gonna launch like at the beginning of 2024.
But there won't be any clothes for a long time.
No, but I'll be like doing the one of one stuff for other brands, like just like showing what I can do before I can actually drop.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. How are people even going to know where to find it? Are you going to post it through Taking Over that, hey, we're done with we're done here, but we're going to go on a new thing? Are you going to start from nothing and message a bunch of people? Like, how are you going to how's it even going to drop? If people are listening to this, they don't know the name. How are they going to find it?
I can run through some names. I would love to hear what you think. And then if people like whenever the brand comes out, you'll know if that's the name or not, or it could be like a completely different name that I don't.
Okay, give me a few of the names. I'm just curious now.
My top ones are Vessel, Hilltop. Can I pull it up?
Yeah, right, totally.
I've been working on this like 9-page document. It's crazy.
I think that's important though. People, again, what a lot of people don't realize is the amount of work and planning that goes into the release of a product or a project is just as important or more so than what the thing itself is. People don't realize that. They think if I make something cool, people will just like it. It's like, no, there has to be a direction and a whole purpose behind all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When I started Taking Over, like it was more like I finally found something where I can create.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a plan of where I wanted to go, but it kind of like the plan made itself just by the way I like did the brand. Like I kind of just like I saw what was going good and I just went with it. Yeah, but totally. I didn't know what I was going to do when I started it. So yeah, it is really important to like write down what you want to do. And like people, like the famous Tyler the Creator clip where he's like, you want to make something, just do it, like with that talking to that girl in the audience. Like it's kind of hard to think that way because like I want to make something new, why not just do it? But I need to have like the vision for it. Yeah.
Well, and there's a difference, right? Like to just create something, I agree with 100 times over and then some. Most people just get in their own way of never creating anything in the first place. However, a whole business and on the commercial side, that's a little bit different. That you don't want to just jump the gun on. I tell people because people ask me, how do I start a podcast? And I say, dude, Audacity's free. Your laptop has built-in speakers. You can literally for free sit with your friend and create a podcast. Probably going to suck, but you can do it. You should do that. I'm not saying that you should do that and then make a brand of it and put it out when that's all you have. Now you're jumping the gun and you're like not going to get good results doing that, right? So there is a difference. Jump on it and do it. You can make as many clothes and as many different things as you want. You just don't have to put them out yet. Yeah. But you're still doing it. You know what I mean? So it depends on you got to look at it through the right lens. So what were some of the other names?
Okay, so
we got Vessel and Hilltop.
Vessel, Hilltop, Antic, Eclipse, Haro, and Elegant. Like I want one word. It doesn't have to do with like fashion exactly, because you know, like Taking Over is like a clothing brand name.
Yeah, sure.
Like it's made to go on clothes, but like I want just like a clean word.
I think Vessel is the best one.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Haro is a BMX bike company years ago.
Okay,
so that one's taken a little bit.
Yeah, it's so hard to find one.
Everything's been used. Dude. Yeah, the fact that passion really hasn't been used by anyone significant that I've been aware of in the 3.5 years I've been doing this. And before that, the 9 years of my business blows my mind because it's like a very common word. How in the world, I mean, besides the fact it's kind of cheesy, but nobody else has used it, which blows my mind. I've been trying to get just the Instagram handle Passion forever, but this dude wants $5,000 for it. And I'm obviously not going to pay you because there's not even a way that I could ensure that I would get it. Anyways, that's a different monologue.
Have you tried trademarking it?
I have not tried to trademark it.
That's how you like, if you have the trademark for it, you like send it to Instagram and they'll give it to you, give you that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, see, now I'm learning things from you. All right, dude, the Midwest has way more to offer than people give it credit for. Everyone talks to me whenever I go to LA and say, when are you going to move out here? And I was like, why don't you come out to the Midwest? The Midwest is dope and it's not nearly as expensive. There's a lot of cool stuff. And frankly, in today's world, you can have as many meetings over the internet as you want and you can hop on a flight anywhere. And if you live in Chicago or Minneapolis, you can be in New York or LA within like 3 hours. that's like, it takes an hour and a half just to get across town anyways if you're driving. So it's really, it's not that bad. But Chicago has a dope scene. Minneapolis has a really dope music scene as well. So I can definitely turn you on to some rappers from there. And I don't want to say I'm like a huge music head because I don't know lyrics for everybody, but I work by myself a lot. So I listen to a lot of music, and I definitely listen to a lot of hip hop. So I will gladly send you some people, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are on some rappers, because the people that I listen to, a lot of them I've been listening to since you were really young. So I need to know who the new people are, because I only know the people that have been around since like forever. Okay, so you're starting a brand from scratch. That's what you're going to do. A lot of people listening are people that would like to start a brand from scratch. So if you were going to give some advice for people, what are the first few steps? If somebody listening right now has been wanting to start a brand, what are the first few steps you would suggest that they do? Granted, they're not coming from a background of already having a brand and already having all these other things. But if they want to start from nothing, what are the first things that you think they should do?
Okay, so the first things that I would do is, one of the hardest things, find a name. And then create a scalable logo with a bunch of different logo packs that like you make sure the name is like you can use it in a bunch of different styles. And then start designing your website and designing like your first couple products. And don't have your first drop be too big. You don't want like 15 things in your first drop. Like, you're just building out your brand identity, so you want like 5 items max.
Yeah.
And then once you have those products, you get the samples for it. Like most brands do pre-order for their first couple drops. Yeah. So you like collect orders for a week and then send out the orders to a manufacturer and get it done in like 4 to 6 weeks. And then I would do a lot of promotion on TikTok and Instagram. Like, TikTok is a big tool. It's hard. It's so oversaturated, but it's hard to like find new content to put out. But a big thing with TikTok is using your voice now. Like, you can't just like put a sound over a video. Like, you have to be talking. Yeah, just like really build out a plan of like what you want to do for your first year. Like, for the first 12 months, how many times do you want to drop? What do you want to be doing in between when you're not promoting a drop? Like, how do you want to keep people interested where it's not just about the clothes? Like, you want to build something, not just like build a brand.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason people buy stupid bricks for a bunch of money from Supreme, right? Like, it very much is not just the clothing.
Yeah.
There's a dude. I don't care if anyone thinks this is disagrees with me. They're wrong. Those big red boot things that are popping up. I just saw somebody over by the Statue of Liberty legitimately wearing them out. He's just walking around in them.
Really?
And I just like, I didn't say anything, but I so badly wanted to tell him those were the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like, I get it. You're trying to make a statement, but you're not making a statement. You look like Astro Boy. Like, those are dumb. But I agree. I think so here's the thing. When you want to come up with a whole idea of what you want to do for this brand, right? And you come up with your calendar year of what you want to do. Start putting in that work, knowing you're not going to make any money, and anything you sell, realistically, you should put back into the brand anyways for quite a while. As you develop this plan, what's going to end up happening is you're going to grow as an entrepreneur with your ideas and everything else, and you're going to end up more than one rough draft. As you start coming up with all these ideas, you're like, okay, now I'm into, 6 months and I'm starting to come up with the ideas for these, designs or whatever. Now you're starting to really get a feel of what you're doing, and you're going to go back and you're going to edit what those first ones were and everything else too, right? By doing it in that full way, maybe you don't end up even making a post on anywhere for 2-3 months or whatever, because you're like just sitting there kind of developing an idea, but the idea that you develop is going to be so much better.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people too got to try not to be too stubborn of sticking with something if it's really not working. Not saying walk away from something immediately, but you can expect yours worked really well. Most people, they won't. So you should just go into it with the expectation of like, well, this first thing that I'm trying, I'm going to do my absolute best at, is probably going to fail, and that's okay. But by the time I've put in this time working on it for a period of time, if it fails and it's just not what I want to do, you can walk away and you can start over again, and there's no big deal because you're not starting from the base level of before. You're starting from a totally different knowledge base now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just people really got to get out of their own way and start actually working on it. I'm curious what your thoughts are on how to actually use TikTok. You said using your voice, but being on top of social media trends, like, I hate doing it. It sucks. It's not enjoyable to me at all. But what I have learned from just like doing research and whatnot on it is that stuff really does matter. Like every time there's a new feature that Instagram's pushing or whatever, like if they come out with something new, it means they're going to push everything that uses it. So you just have to like figure out a way to actually use it. How do you stay on top of even knowing what to try with that? Are there like certain resources you look at, or like how do you even know what to do?
TikTok is so hard. Like, I would say I'm not the best at it either. So like it's hard for me to come up with ideas, but really for the new brand, I'm like looking at what kind of stuff I'm watching and stuff that's interesting to me, because the demographic that I'm looking for the new brand is like people like me. Yeah. So what am I watching that is interesting? And then like, what are the key points that they're doing in their style of videos? Like this guy Tim, I forget his last name, but like he's some dad who does vlogs, and like he just tells the story really well. Yeah. And like you can tell he writes out scripts for it. Like it's a lot of time, but it pays off. Like if you stick with a style, it's all about being consistent too. Like you have to post. Well, like on TikTok, people say to post like 3-4 times a day, but like usually I'll do one a day maybe. Yeah. Like I'll go in sprees too. Like I'll film 25 TikToks in one day and then put it out over 25 days. Yeah. But it's like hard to come up with new ideas. Like if you have a TikTok video that isn't working, it doesn't mean the idea is not good. Just like edit the video and tell it a different way. Sure. And then you'll get different results every time. Like keep refining it.
I think that's one thing with TikTok in particular, is that the algorithm is so all over the place that you could post almost the exact same thing and the results could be drastically different. So 100%. TikTok, unfortunately, I really hate that you have to flood things rather. I don't like the quantity over quality mentality. Yeah. But unfortunately, that's kind of how that platform works, is you just have to post a lot. There was one video I posted on TikTok, and I don't even use TikTok hardly at all, which is to my own detriment. I know it. But one of them has like 243,000 views on it, right? And I don't even have 1,000 followers on there because I don't really use the platform. That same video on my Instagram, I posted, it only got like 3,000 views. And I actually have a following on my Instagram. And it's the exact same video. There's no difference to it whatsoever. It's just by chance the way that a lot of these things work. So specifically with that, I think you have to put out a whole bunch of content. And you have to understand that like it's okay to miss, because you're going to miss almost every time on those platforms. Yeah. You just got to continue to put stuff out there and hope that it goes well. The thing is people don't expect content on those types of channels to be all that crazy polished anymore. Yeah. You don't really have to put like a ridiculous amount of time into each individual one. And everyone else I know that does a lot of content stuff on, these social media platforms, they do the same thing. Like I interviewed this dude, Bryson Roach. He's a creative director for a bunch of like rock stars and stuff, right? And so he'll go for a weekend with, like, his older brother's the lead singer of Papa Roach, so he does all their stuff too. Sits with them for a weekend, and he'll do content, that'll last them for 2 months. Yeah. Just do it all at one time, so he just has a whole thing, and then you can just start unrolling them. Because if you're trying to do it every single day, you're going to get lost for sure. My problem is trying to figure out a good balance of how much time to put into it. Even just the day that I post it, it gets to be like exhausting. So I end up not doing it as often as I should. Yeah. But I think people who ignore the social media tools like that right now are blowing it, and it's going to be really, really impossible for any kind of brand that they want to do to take off. People need to understand that you need to promote it. Like a thing, even if you make something cool, if you don't tell anybody about it, no one's going to know about it. You can't just make something cool. Like you have to get people to see and know about this cool thing from somewhere, whether it's you have an influencer friend or whatever, do a shout out on their page or whatever, or you message people individually, or you post a bunch and hope the algorithm reaches people. Probably a combination of all of it. Yeah. Like you have to get your name in front of people. Otherwise, people aren't going to ever see it.
Yeah, people aren't going to find you. You have to be shown to them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for you with your own personal growth, you were telling me when you got here, you're going to be going to some kind of design school or something. Like, what's going to happen? Are you graduating high school in the next couple months? And then you're going to be going off to fancy college and where? Chicago or Antarctica?
And here in New York.
So yeah, what's the story? You're going to graduate and what's going to happen?
Yeah, so I graduate in May. I'm taking a year off. So I'll be just like working on my brand. I'll probably get a second job. But for the winter, we have a house in Vermont. Like, I'm a snowboarder.
Oh, cool.
So I'll be working at Stratton Mountain in Vermont and then come back home for the spring. But I'm going to Parsons School of Design, part of New School. It's Lower Manhattan. I'm just like excited to be living in the city since like I'm from Yonkers, so it's like 40 minutes north, which is just like a train ride. I come down as much as I can, but like to actually be living in New York City is just like super exciting and refreshing. Like, the city brings so much.
Yeah.
And I just love like it's like, how can you stay afloat in New York? Like, it's a test to the person. Like, if you
can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Exactly. Like, people say that, and like, I think it's true. Like, New York, like, if you're not getting better every day, if you're not doing something every day, you'll sink and like fall into like a hole, because you'll see everyone else is moving at 1,000 miles faster than you are, but you have to like keep up with it. So it's like you're getting inspiration from strangers, which is like I'm excited for.
Dude, yeah, I'm jealous in a way. I was just talking to my friend Charlie Flatten. Known him since he was pretty young. Again, older than you, but still, I met him when he was like 18, 19 or whatever. He came into my shop because I said I own the skateboard shop, and he basically just was like, hey man, I know you do like this podcast and you know a lot of creative people, and I just kind of want to like hang out, maybe do some photos for you and kind of learn some stuff. And I was like, dope, dude. Like, I'm not really trying to mentor necessarily or anything. It kind of had a little bit of that relationship, but it's been cool because I've known him for years, and he's grown so much since when I first met him. The quality of his work is incredible. And him and Sawyer Bryce, who I interviewed Sawyer Bryce a while ago, I'll show you his stuff. He's makes music videos, does photos. But him and Charlie moved out to Minneapolis after they graduated from college, and they started basically like a boutique music video production company. And they're already like one of the top couple like people to do it in Minneapolis, which is a pretty big scene. Yeah. They're doing it for a bunch of big people. They're working on something for Kenny Hoopla right now. They're going to do a new music video for him. And seeing them kind of, literally graduate from college, but graduate from that area, moving out to something like that, to this bigger scene and surrounding themselves with all these people, there is a tinge of jealousy for me where I'm like, man, I want to be surrounded by all these people that I'm like, not necessarily that I want to be in a sink or swim, but it's crazy motivating and it's inspiring to see other people that are in that position too, just because of the environment. It kind of like forces you to be. For me, I get that feeling when I fly out places like this, right? Because I see all these other people, and then I go home to my like quiet space where I'm like, I don't have a whole lot of stress chilling where I'm living because it's cheap. You don't have to do much. You can live off minimum wage where I live, and it's like no big deal. Obviously, you can't do that in New York.
Yeah.
But I get that feeling a little bit when I pop out. So I can imagine what it would feel like. And it's kind of perfect for your age, not having kids or anything, because you're young yourself, that like, you know, if you start to sink, it's really only you who's like screwed. Yeah. And you can make it back from it.
Yeah.
You know, so like if you're going to take a risk, now's the time. And that's going to be the position where you put yourself in that's going to give the most personal growth, right? You don't have to be in New York City forever.
Yeah.
You can establish yourself to be whatever and eventually move somewhere else. What do you actually want to learn from going to design school? What do you think you're going to learn from doing that rather than just focusing on your brand and hanging out with other designers?
I'm really just looking forward to like being surrounded by creative people. Like, my grade is like 150 people. There's like one other kid who runs a brand who used to do photos for me, and now he runs a ski brand. Like, he's my next door neighbor. So
cool.
Like me and him are like one of the only people who are doing like real creative stuff. So it's just like gonna be refreshing to be surrounded by those type of people all the time.
Yeah.
Plus, like, they have all the sewing machines, like all the best stuff in the world that is like right at my fingertips.
Yeah. Well, and anybody to show you how to work with any material or anything else for that matter. So when you have an idea, you don't have to just go on YouTube and learn from it. Granted, YouTube's an incredible resource, especially for people beginning. But when you get to the more advanced, it'll be nice to have somebody around you and other opportunities, right? Like when you go to a school like that, I'm sure that there are opportunities to be in this fashion show or to get your work seen by this person, or even just to talk to somebody who has a connection to somebody you would like to be, you know, be able to be put in contact with.
Yeah. Like all of the teachers at the new school or all the professors at the new school, like being a teacher isn't their only job. Like they're invested, or like they're actually in the scene, which is definitely going to be helpful for like runway shows and stuff like that. And also just like, I just want to say, like with the new brand, like I'm looking to be a tool myself, because like I feel like nowadays people aren't like, they just want to build it by themselves. Like there's not as much collaboration in the world like as I think there should be. Like
I agree. Yeah,
I want to bring a lot of the fashion community together and like working together on like something cool, like not just building for yourself, like by yourself. Like you don't have to be tucked in a corner, you know?
Yeah.
Just working, like find other people.
Yeah. Well, and you sink or swim together, right? Like you don't, especially if neither of you are really into making a whole bunch of money and you're still at that point of like, how do we push each other and how do we grow? It's like if somebody were to hire you to try to help them grow this brand and you don't do a good job, it's just a waste of your time too. You know what I mean? So you don't want to waste their time. You don't want to waste your own time.
Exactly.
Sometimes getting yourself with other people, other creatives, the same way you're surrounding yourself by going to that school, sometimes getting into any kind of partnership with anybody in that way is one of the better ways to push yourself to grow. Yeah. Right? Because the motivation is there, because now they're not just letting down themselves, they're letting down you. So it does push you in that kind of way, which I think is really helpful. And like, I think everyone should try to learn how to do everything on their own eventually, so that way they have like a good understanding of it. But again, it's hard to learn everything just from YouTube. You know, somebody can work with you, and I'm sure you would be willing to show them how and why you're doing what you're doing as well. You know what I mean? Sure. So that way they can learn from the process and you can learn from the process. Plus, it never hurts to have a larger network of people around you.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like in 3 years, who knows where you'll be? You know, or in 5 years, who knows where you'll be?
And I think like, it's interesting to see how other people create. Like,
yeah, totally.
Because for me, like sewing, I'm fully self-taught. Like I haven't really taken a class for like using the machine. And just like, I know it's not like the most professional way to do it, and I'd love to see like how other people do it, just to like pick up on their techniques and stuff. It would be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, all it does is make you better at what you do, because I'm sure when you self-teach, you end up learning all these different techniques of how to do something that other people probably don't know of, but it doesn't hurt to know all of the techniques available and continue to develop other ways too. You know, same way with garments, right? Like you start with a t-shirt, you see somebody else do something and you're like, oh, how do I make this fit a little bit longer? How do I cut this in or whatever? It's like broadening your horizons and doing different things. One thing I learned from somebody else, again, this guitarist I mentioned to you before, is when he gets into a creative hole, he'll spend an hour of the day or half an hour, however long, doing something that he already knows how to do, like, or a skill that already exists, right? For him, like he'll do scales or whatever for like an hour, just to get things moving, right? So even if you can't come up with a unique idea that you want to create, you could look up something on the internet and say, oh, they did this cool thing. I don't know how to do that. I know I'm not going to make this and sell it because they already did. Yeah. But I would like to know how to do it. And then by doing that along the way, a lot of times that's what gives you ideas for something totally different, right? Because you're starting to work yourself, work those muscles creatively and physically, figuring out how to do something. Okay, so on every episode, which I'm sure you listen to some because you obviously listen to Jax, I ask the same question near the end. And when you do something that you're really passionate about for a living, or I mean, I guess this is kind of doing it for a living, but even so, you get to have a lot of really cool, unique experiences that aren't usually money driven in any kind of way. What's a story of a unique experience that happened to you that you're really grateful for, but it only happened because you pursued fashion?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I would say one of the things I'm most grateful for is getting a chance to create this other brand with Kelly, which it's just very fresh to me. Like, I started working on it like in November of 2022. So, and this was like kind of before I thought I wanted to stop Taking Over. So it just like opened up my eyes to like be more collaborative and like put myself out there more. And it doesn't have to just be for my brand. Like, I can work for other people.
Yeah.
And like, it wouldn't have happened if like I didn't say to him that I wanted to that like he was looking to make clothes, and I was like, yeah, I'll help you.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely like grateful for that and excited to see like where this other brand goes, because I don't have to like be the face of it or anything. Like, I'm just behind the scenes, which is very like, it's refreshing and it's just like fun.
And it's cool to be in kind of a teaching space like that, right? Because when you start, you're doing everything on your own, and it can be really lonely when you're trying to figure things out. Like, there are tools like YouTube or whatever, but if you don't have a personal friend there that's kind of showing you, it's difficult and it's kind of lonely to do that. But when you've grown as a person and you're in a position where then you can help a friend and say, hey, I want to see you be successful with this thing, and you can just lend your skills to it. And because it's not your brand, it doesn't have to be your brand and identity, like you said, you can just kind of freely help without too much expectation, right? And like, it is really rewarding to be able to help other people. Yeah. And again, you never know where that's going to go anyways. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he could go off and do whatever and then come back to you again and say, hey, I need another drop. Yeah. I know we haven't worked together in 5 years, but would you be down? It'd be sick. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, well, obviously you'll see where it goes. Okay. So where can people best follow you after this? Where can they find your stuff? I mean, Taking Over is still going to be going for a little while after this comes out. So people could catch those last few drops, buy them, save them, because in 10 years, they're going to be relics worth a ton of money. But where can people best find you, follow you, and then how could they support your goals moving forward?
Sure. So my personal Instagram is Sauce Like Milo. So SAUCED like Milo, MILO. My brand is takinover.co, TAKINOVR.co. Yeah, I don't have a page for the new brand yet because I don't have a name. So
sure.
Yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Dope, dude. Well, thank you so much for coming over here. I'm really excited to see where the journey is going to take you. Hopefully you don't like completely surpass me and then I'm way in the dust. We can just continue to grow and become bigger and bigger names and more successful at what we do at the same time. It'll be awesome. We'll take over the fucking world.
Let's do it.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.